Hello and welcome to the Racers HQ podcast. I'm your host, Matt Murphy, and joining me on the line tonight is Pat Mulry. Pat, how are we doing tonight, sir?
Spectacular. We are full of Christmas cheer.
It is that. It is that time of the season, right? And probably our last pod, honestly, for the year, because that's the rate we've been on. But
Yeah, right. Although
we only bring you quality content.
that's right, or content. Um, too bright. Sorry, tried turning on a light there and it shone right in my face. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, or just content sometimes.
Sometimes just content. And we're going to get to that. We've got some content tonight. So lots going on tonight. We're going to do a little bit of a year-end wrap-up with a driver of the year. That's exciting. Mulry just got back from Atlanta with all the friends, and that sounded like a hoot. I had to miss it, but we need to hear the stories.
Yep.
And we've been gone for a while, so I'm sure we have some garage talk. And you know what, guys? We want to make sure we're bringing awesome content, so we're just going to riff on random other things for a while, and for the fans, right? So
That's right.
let's get
This is
so
all fan. This is all fan service. This
It
is
is.
the fan service podcast.
We're just here for the fans. Whatever you want, we'll stop talking about race cars. I don't care, but yeah. So Maury, I think a good way to segue into that is we always talk about what we're sipping on tonight, and I feel like we've got a few culinary hot takes in general. So let's start with what are you sipping on tonight, sir?
Tonight I am the bottle of Blue Run High Rye Bourbon.
Mm,
Had about one drink left in it, and I thought, let's do some bottle kill work here.
mm,
Make
murder.
some space on the shelf for a new bottle. I don't know
Yeah.
what it'll be, but there will be space for it because I poured about 2 ounces into my glass, and then the bottle was done and went into the recycle.
Okay. And what are our hot takes on this bottle?
I'm a big fan of the Blue Run bourbons generally. I think they're
Mm,
really good. I think no, I'm wrong. I thought I knew the distillery they were coming out of, but I'm not sure that I do. But I
okay.
like what they do. Um, I haven't had anything of theirs that I don't really like. Um, they have some moderately priced bottles, and then they have some very proud priced bottles, and this is a pretty moderate bottle for them. Um,
I like that.
good stuff. I recommend it.
Very
Uh,
good.
and how
Uh,
about yourself, sir?
well, oh,
I saw there's some juice looking liquid in your glass.
yeah. I'm still on these highballs, man. Ever since I got back from Japan, I love a single tall whiskey soda. It's
Ah,
refreshing. You get whiskey flavor. You don't need a lot of, I mean, quality whiskey, maybe. I don't know. I go with the bottled and bond. Evan Williams is my go-to. But sometimes you can do scotch, like a Dewar's.
yeah.
It's a lot of diversity and options in that space. But earlier tonight, I had a fat washed bourbon cocktail.
So explain fat washed bourbon for me. Pretend
I'm gonna
like I
do.
don't know what it is.
I'm gonna do my best. I feel like you know the answer, but my understanding is that fat washed bourbon is taking bourbon and some melted butter or another fat and maybe emulsifying this mixture. I don't know if that's the right word, but
Okay.
spinning it up to where it really starts to talk to each other, and then letting that chill and pulling the kind of like solid fat puck off the top. And what you're
So
left with,
do you think you do it in like a Vitamix to really get
that
them?
sounds great. I mean, something to really get everything working together, right? Because you want like this, I don't know, solution, right?
Yeah.
You want to suspend the fat molecules inside of the alcohol if that's possible. I'm sure somebody can fact check me on this, but I think that's the idea. And then chill that and peel off the kind of excess fat from the top. And then what you end up with is a lovely product. I mean, it really adds that body, it's like a buttered biscuit
Yeah.
body to your whiskey. And you can make a
Very
Manhattan
interesting.
with that or something, and you're doing all right.
So the fat washed bourbon that you had tonight, what was the bourbon base and what was the fat that had been washed in?
It was definitely butter, and I would guess it was maybe KD or maybe something better than that. But I mean, it was just bourbon. Is
Yeah,
KD bourbon?
like
Is that?
just a well bourbon.
I feel like it was. I don't think
Yeah,
maybe slightly better, but you know,
might have been turkey or something like that.
sure.
Hmm.
I'll follow up on this, but I thought it was an interesting technique. I wonder if it would be gross with like smoked tallow or something.
That'd be really interesting. It probably would be. I bet there are some bourbons that'd work great with, and others you'd be like, "This is disgusting filth."
Yeah. There's only one way to know.
There is.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in. So I guess do you think you could do that with other spirits as well? I mean, other
Mm,
more like what about a fat washed vodka? Like what if you did
hmm
if you took I mean, I don't know that you want to do Grey Goose because it's a little high tone for experimentation, but maybe
hmm
Smirnoff.
Or
Take a
it tastes like
Smirnoff.
chicken, the official
Okay,
bourbon of Tarp Racing.
sorry. Yes, tastes like chicken,
Yeah.
recycled vodka.
Yeah.
Um and then fat wash that with some like some bacon grease.
Mm. Oh, that's a great idea.
And then
Like
you'd have
some,
a fat wash vodka that you could use in Bloody Marys.
hey, I think you're inventing things. I think you just made $1,000.
$1,000.
A thousand
Wow.
dollars. Yeah. $1,000.
$1,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
hope our hundred of billions listeners don't steal that from you, Pat, because
that's
that's a good
right.
idea.
When tastes like chicken, bacon washed vodka hits the shelf in 2 weeks in the handy traveler container, we're
Mm.
gonna have a big lawsuit on our hands. You
Yeah.
taste like chicken listeners.
One of my dear friends and possible listener is an IP lawyer, so if you're listening, let's get it on this uh,
Possible.
possible listener. Well,
Maybe.
that's fun.
We'll
That's
downgrade them to maybe. Maybe
yeah.
listener. Occasional.
So look out for more content like this. We're threatening YouTube videos where I try to pretend like I'm Kenji Alt Lopez and put GoPros all over my frying pan. You never know. Lifestyle stuff. Maury,
Lifestyle.
what kind of lifestyle content could you add to the podcast stream?
Mine would be so boring. Nobody would want to see my lifestyle stuff.
Did you not have some dining suggestions for the holiday season?
Well, sure. Yeah, we could do dining suggestions. I was going to ask you about what videos you were going to do, but we'll get back. We'll plant that and get back to it.
Okay.
So I've been watching. What's the name of this guy? Um, on YouTube lately, Billy Parisi. He's
Okay.
somehow managed to weasel his way into my feed between Formula One stuff and like home
Sure.
building videos, and I was watching. We were watching one the other day about how to make the perfect lobster bisque, and
Mm,
then he did two videos about the best way to cook a steak, and the second one was reverse sear versus sous vide.
hmm
And it was actually pretty interesting to see him, and I enjoy him. He's kind of like um, he reminds me a little bit of Alton Brown, but without some of the just um, a little bit too much of Alton Brown. And I'm an
hmm
Alton Brown fan, like going all the way back to Good Eats. But
But it's helpful for people to come back to life, like really,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
a real human, maybe.
yeah. And this Parisi guy, I think he was a chef, and now I think he's doing this YouTube thing full time. But it was really interesting to see. Like it was interesting to see the reverse sear straight on against the sous vide, and then sear it after that. And
What's the answer reverse here?
no, sous vide.
No? Okay.
Yeah. I think I mean, he was like, you wouldn't, send either of these back if you got them at a steakhouse. But
Mm,
I think his perspective was, now he dry brines them, for, 16 or
mm,
24 hours first.
mm.
And then, but, I think his perspective was, and I share this perspective. I was glad to see that he agreed with me or that I agreed with him. No, he agreed with me because I've been doing this before I knew him. Um, about doing it sous vide because
Mm.
it just when you dry brine it and then you cook it and it's cooking in its own juices in the sous vide for an hour 90 minutes or whatever, and then you dry it off, take it out, dry it off, and throw it on a ripping hot grill to get that good coat on the outside, the crust. Um, it's a juicier steak. I know there are probably some of our listeners don't like the word moist.
Sure.
Some listeners, moist is a gross word, so I'm not going to say the steak is moist, but it's
Mm.
juicier, more delicious. So, yeah. But
Better adjective.
yeah. I would love to do. I've never cooked. This may surprise you. I've never cooked a prime rib,
Mm.
and I would like to do that. But we kind of have some Christmas traditions, so I don't think that's going to happen
Sure.
this year.
What about smoked? Was that an option on the getting the beef to temperature prior to searing?
Not in that video.
Okay. That's something I've been meaning to try, and I hear good things about it, like on a low heat. Anyway, think
I
about it.
wonder how long you. I wonder how long you smoke it for. Right.
Maybe like an hour, maybe less.
Mm-hmm.
But you get that flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the fun part anyway.
Yeah. One thing he's really big on is that I've never done in cooking steak. Of course, my sear is usually outside on the grill, on a
Hmm.
like on a flat top on the grill, um, rather than inside because we've got a hood over our stove, but it's
Hmm.
not like an industrial get all the smoke out of here kind of thing. So it's maybe inadequate for these purposes. But he does a lot of when he's doing the sear. He does a lot of like butter basting.
Butter basting. It was on the tip of my tongue, Money. Butter basting with a sprig of thyme.
Yeah, he'll like or
Mm.
rosemary and
Yeah,
like a couple of cloves of garlic in there, like not smashed up,
perfect.
just like a couple. And he's just like constantly doing it, and you see it in all those videos. And I've never ever done it.
Do it.
So
You
yeah.
could do it on your egg, even. Like if you had a roaring fire going, like
Oh
you can go
yeah.
take all that operation out there with a cast iron skillet.
Well, that's true. Do it in a skillet instead of just on the flat top.
And you don't want high heat when you're doing that part. You got to like sear it first,
Yeah.
and then the final touches, you need to bring the heat down so you don't burn the butter.
Mm-hmm. That's a good tip.
Yeah, but it is
Good culinary
delicious.
tips here on Racers HQ
Hmm.
Lifestyle Podcast.
So real quick, while we're talking lifestyle, we're talking steaks. Christmas dinner, I've been challenged. Actually, Christmas breakfast even. I think this steps it
Oh,
up a notch because challenge me for a Christmas breakfast beef Wellington,
oh,
and,
that's
I,
a
and
good
I'm
one.
and I'm gonna deliver. I've done it. I've done it twice now, and last time was
Like a
beautiful.
pro.
Yeah, I think the key is moisture management. You
Yeah.
gotta get all the moisture out of that duck cell mix, and
Mm-hmm.
like sous vide. I'm gonna sous vide the thing overnight or the night before. Let it sit in its own stuff overnight,
Mm-hmm.
and then dry it off real good. Wrap it in some very low moisture duck cell, prosciutto, puff pastry, then a lattice on top, and then I think like a Christmas ornament puff pastry on top of that with
Oh,
some
so fancy.
egg wash on top, just to give it that golden brown.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. So do you do your own puff pastry with the laminated layers and everything, or do you just
I'm not here for that. It's
pick that up at Trader Joe's?
you outsource that problem 100%. Like it makes it so much easier. If you want to, yeah, if you want to like, you know, become an angry man, make puff pastry on your own. But if you just want to deliver solid products, you buy it.
You know
So
who has a history of making his own puff pastry and is excellent at it?
Pat Mulry.
Nope, never. I've never
Hmm,
done it.
hmm,
Never ever.
hmm.
Almost certainly not a listener. Ben
Yeah,
Sutton.
Ben Sutton. Really, his own
Sutton.
puff pastry.
Ben can bake the daylights out of a baked good. Ben once brought over when we were doing something on the car. This is a couple of winters ago, and Ben had gotten this Partine Bakery cookbook
Mm,
and decided he was going to make Queen Amands, which I'd never even
okay.
heard of before. Are
Yeah,
you
what's
familiar
that?
with Queen Amand?
No.
It's almost like a muffin made out of. It's in the almost the shape of a muffin made out of puff pastry.
Mm,
So you kind of make these things and you cram them down into a muffin tin. And so it looks kind of like it's not really a cross of a cinnamon roll and a croissant, but that's kind of what it looks like. And it has, I think you put either sugar or brown sugar in the bottom of the muffin uh, cup before you put the pastry in there. So
Okay.
it's got like this super caramelized sugar on the bottom of it that then when you take it out, I think you flip it over and then it's on the top. Yeah,
Yeah, it sounds lovely. Yeah.
they're spectacular. Absolutely. They're so good. And so Ben brings these over and he's like, "Oh yeah, these are just and it's spelled something like Kouign or something like that.
Hmm.
Like when you see it in writing, you're like, what the hell is that?
Like a Vietnamese last name or something.
Maybe. Um, it's like I don't know if it's Dutch or what, but
Hmm.
man, Queen Amman, hell of a pastry, I'll tell you that. And Ben Sutton can cook them.
I I'm here for it. Now I need one. I like
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Well, that
Yeah.
was a good.
Do you have a
But
good bakery in like a good patisserie in OKC?
uh, so we have Vietnamese French bakeries,
Yeah,
which are
yeah.
lovely, and they'll do like it'll be like a pork meatball with
Mm-hmm.
gravy in a croissant or something. I mean, it's just the
Oh,
most delicious breakfast.
yeah.
So that's my go-to is the Vietnamese French.
You might be able to
Um,
find a Queen Amman at the Vietnamese French bakery there.
yeah, yeah, but yeah. We have some fancy stuff, but
Yeah.
it's nothing like Dallas. You guys are so fancy.
Yeah, but I don't know of a well, no, I do. There's a
Yeah,
really good bakery over by where Ben and Diana used to live. That's
yeah.
like only open on Saturday mornings or Saturday and Sunday mornings. Like the rest of the week, they're trade only.
Mm. We did Laotian again tonight, and it's one of our James Beard Award winning restaurant chef
Nice. Yeah.
things, and that's it's just such a unique, wonderful flavor for dinner. But yeah. Anyway,
So
Pat, hmm?
that's gonna be the Christmas breakfast this year.
The Wellington, yes,
The
that's
Wellington.
Christmas breakfast with my brother's going to bring some roast vegetables, which is right in the pocket,
Yeah.
uh,
It's an all roast breakfast kind of.
and champagne.
Ooh,
That'll really tie it into the breakfast part of the meal, right? Because
that's true. Sure.
yeah, I think that sounds fancy. So
We have the traditional Mulry family breakfast going back to when I was a boy is a sausage, egg, cheese casserole.
ooh,
It's really good.
sausage, egg, cheese casserole. Okay, I like
I
this.
like the crumbled, like the
Mm-hmm.
hot crumbled sausage,
Mm-hmm. It
and
sounds good.
just scrambled eggs and cheddar cheese, I guess, and like a lot of fresh parsley.
Mm.
You just kind of pour that all in a pan. Actually, you pour it in the pan and then like refrigerate it overnight. You can just take it out in the morning after Santa departs
Sure.
and throw it into a cold oven and then the oven and it come up at temperature together to
Yeah.
350 for an hour or
Yeah.
something like that, and then you've got lots of it.
I don't. We could go on forever, but I do have to. I have to respond to that one. I've been making sausage and sage stuffing like a madman lately because I haven't been hosting any parties this year. But
Yeah,
you got to bring something,
yeah.
and that's been my go-to is the sausage sage stuffing. But same deal. You make this custard basically.
Mm-hmm.
You put it in the fridge. You hit it in the oven. Boom, boom. You're in great shape.
And you're all there.
Yeah. So I
Are
like
you?
it.
Is the sage still growing in the garden outside, or are you having to go buy it at this point?
No, sage didn't work out this year. No.
Uh,
Thyme, parsley, cherry tomatoes, all champs in my mint, chives. Those are all going well. Garlic,
I
but
saw
the
something on
sage.
TV the other day that was inside. It like you see it and you're like, oh, that's for people that are growing pot, right? But
Mm.
it's like about I don't know the size of a shoebox, and you just plant little, kind of
Yeah, we
mini.
got one of those.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, the little pods you put in there, and it's got a
Uh
grow
huh.
light and
Yeah.
aquaponic or hydroponic system. Yep, we got one of those.
So
Yep, we make
have you tried to grow sage in that?
sage goes okay on that. Yeah,
Yeah.
dill is wonderful on that because it's like a nice cool temperature. I would go all dill, maybe some heirloom lettuces kind of thing. Some lettuce is nice.
Some tiny little heirloom lettuces.
Tiny little perfect lettuce size.
You could have like just a very rabbit sized salad.
Yeah. You know what they call a whole group of lettuces?
I
A,
feel
s-
like I
a-
may
a
have seen that.
salad.
Oh,
Anyway, too easy. Come on. Uh,
we've not been drinking enough to have stooped to this level already.
okay. Let's talk about cars.
Let's talk about cars.
Okay.
Do you want to lead
Yeah.
off with a K swap update?
Yeah, sure. Whatever. So, anyway, whatever. The K swap is buttoned up and ready to start. It's happening this weekend. I've got 9 days off in a row. I'm getting things done. The car's getting started. I'm going to schedule an appointment at a dyno shop and we're going to go get dyno charts. So, things are coming along.
That is exciting. That is
I
really
know.
good news.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to go race NASA ST5 next year. It's happening. No excuses.
What
Aside
what
from,
what's the first event?
I don't know. I think it's March because I don't think I'm going to make the January event, but probably, I don't know, probably ECR Crescent if I had to guess, but
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah.
Love to have you out. I mean, love to have anybody out to help. Maybe also run Roland. Not that he listens, but whatever.
Cough.
Huh? So what?
Cough. Roland. Cough.
Roland, cough, Roland. Yeah. But aside from that, I want to talk about something else that I got to go do, which kept me out of the garage. Is I got to go drifting, and that was a blast. And
Oh yeah.
talk all the crap you want about drifting, but it is fun and dangerous as hell. Like, no, this is not the SCCA. Like, there was like a naked C4, like no body panels, no doors, no cage, kids in the passenger seat drifting around. So, that kind of stuff.
What's
But
the worst that could happen?
yeah, what's worse that could happen? I think they had seat belts. That was anyway. But no, so
You think
maybe.
they weren't just relying on the driver throwing out
I
an
think
arm when
they were probably
bent
driving
forward?
a drone, not paying attention, but anyway.
Huh.
But yeah, no, so at the Las Vegas Grand Prix watch party, which was a blast, thanks to
Oh
everybody for
yeah.
coming out. Um, I got to reconnect with my old buddy Mark Hutchison, and this guy used to work at Deshworks,
Yeah.
and he's done some kind of internet stuff. Like he's had some good content around building a like ridiculous E46 V8 turbo. He's done several, BMW 3 Series LS swaps, and his current car is very well sorted. And he invited me out to go to the drifting event in Norman at the go-kart track. But go-kart tracks work because you don't really need 2x2 racing. Like you can just
Oh, okay.
drive around one by one on the go-kart track. But this thing is sorted, man. So it's kind of an M3 clone, right? It's like I think it's 325 with M3, you know, bumpers. But the fact that it even has bumpers for a drift car is wild. I mean, a lot of the things out there at that event were just, shells of their former Sylvias, right? I mean, these things look ratchet. But that was a perfect. I mean, he was saying like this is the cheater formula for drifting, like E36 with an LS. I think it's an iron block truck motor, and it was just instant torque. Like he could just spin that thing in the parking lot instantly, no trouble at all. I think running like 300 treadwear tires in the rear,
Yeah.
4.5 degrees of camber, some sort of weird angle kit which just extends the lower knuckle, like gives the
Right.
lower knuckle some different geometry. It's just a bolt-on part. It's like not even a whole knuckle, or not even a whole upright.
Yeah. It's probably an SLR drift kit.
Yeah, and so like just a very simple. Oh, and he had a hydraulic, yeah, e-brake.
Yep.
Yeah, and man, it was just a blast. And he's getting pretty good. He can link some corners together, which you can tell that's kind of the goal, right? I mean, to where you can just like fully drift one thing and then sweep right over and drift the whole, next sweeper, and just keep that going. It's just it's really rewarding. So appreciate Mark for letting me come out. It was a blast. I really want to try to drive one of those things before too long. It seems to be accessible kind of between autocross and track day from a cost standpoint. So I'm here for it. I know Todd's done some. It's rad.
Awesome.
I think that's
I've never done any drifting intentionally. Done any
sure.
drift racing.
Yeah. Um, yeah, you should try it. At least go to an event. It's fun. But I think that's all I had on that note. Maybe a little bit more later, but yeah, big shout out to Mark. Oh, and I know we're gonna have him on the pod eventually because I just want his take on V8 swap M3s. I think that's
Yeah,
somewhat relevant. I mean, we like 3 Series E36s. He likes to put V8s in them. There were some other ratchet like E30s with like 305s in them out there.
yeah.
Fun stuff like that, and it just seems like a good combo. We've seen it work in lemons too, and he's done enough of them to where it seems pretty buttoned up. So.
Yeah, it's a pretty. I think it's a pretty established process at this point.
Sure. Yeah. But I think that's all I got. What do you got, Pat? Do you have anything going on? I know you went to Atlanta, but we're going to get to that.
Yeah. So short of Atlanta, I'm not going to name names.
Uh-oh.
I promise I'm not going to name names, even though it wouldn't be defamation because it's true. But the vendor who had promised
Mm,
that, let me back up. You may recall,
mm.
longtime listeners may recall that we have a problem with the E36 that's stemming from electronics, and we think there's a problem in the engine wiring harness.
Okay.
And so the best solution, most efficient solution we determined was to get a different engine harness that somebody else knows how, like that they build these for a living. So they
Mm.
test it all out so that you know that we've got, continuity from here to there on
Sure.
everything all the way to eliminate that problem. And it's more cost efficient to do that than cost and time, particularly because at the point that we were making the decision, we were hoping to make the Road Atlanta race with Miku.
Gotcha.
And so it was both more time and cost efficient to outsource that.
Right.
And so this guy was recommended to me, and he said at the time, "Yeah, I can do that." This is in early November, right? Maybe late October, mid
Yeah.
October, and because he knew the time crunch we were under, like we need to get this back, and then and then we've got to get it installed and tested and everything like that, right? And but he was like, "Yeah, no problem. I can get that out like next week."
Mm.
So so I ship up, basically a core harness to him that I had bought off eBay,
Hmm.
and a core engine harness, a OBD2, and then I check on it the next week, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not going to get that out to you. I just had to fire the guy that's been doing those, and
Hmm.
his work area is a total wreck." Um, which I'm guessing is one of the reasons he had to be fired because he wasn't getting his work done because his area was a total wreck. So I need to get that straightened up, and then and then I've got a couple others I need to do, and then yours is gonna be on there. But I think I'll have this out by the next week. And then it's been a litany of excuses. I was sick. My dog died. Okay, I don't think he actually said my dog died, but it's been a litany of excuses, including that he was sick, and
Hmm.
then he had a Black Friday sale, so he's got to get his Black Friday stuff out. And I'm thinking, hold on, Nat, like you told me I was going to have this like by the first Friday in November.
Right.
I was in line first, right? But
Yeah.
but these people have all paid, well, I paid you too.
Right.
Um, well, so I emailed him from Road Atlanta last weekend. Actually, I don't remember if it was Friday or Saturday, and just said, "Hey, can I get a update on this? And if you don't have the time to do this, can you just send me back my core?
Yeah.
Because I got the feeling like it's just going to be a series of can kicks down the road." And he emailed me back, and he's like, "Yeah, I think that's probably what I need to do.
Well, what the heck?
Can you confirm your address?" So I sent it to him. I'm expecting I'll get my core harness back here any day, along with a refund to my credit card. And yeah, I mean, I thought he was recommended by someone I trust, which means he trusted him, and
Yep.
and this guy just flaked, and I feel like that's so like 2010. Like you had guys that were trying to make a living doing MR2 harnesses or something like that, that
Yeah.
decided they could do this full time when they really couldn't do it full time. I think this guy's doing his job full time, but it's BS to promise somebody, especially when you know that they're on time constraint. And I get that, like, I got sick or I had an employee quit or fire. Like, I understand things happen, and that is the main reason that Miku wasn't ready for this race. But then for another, just to string me along for another month, it's crappy service. Like I
Yeah.
said, I'm not gonna name the guy because I don't really mean to call him out, but um, it's very disappointing because now I've got to figure out a backup solution and what we're gonna do. Fortunately, our but I can't go to Birmingham this year.
Yeah.
So our next race for Miku is going to be Hallett. So we've got 5 months,
Yeah.
which should be enough time. But I've got to at the same time I'm like, okay, I need to get on this because if I get jerked around for another month, I've lost all my slack, and we got to get this done, get the car out on, get it out to ECR and test it, make sure it's ready to go, so we get to Hallett and we're ready to race this time. So
If nothing else, it just highlights how difficult this sport can be and how
yeah,
frustrating it can be, especially when it comes to supply chain issues and bespoke stuff, right?
yeah,
I
right.
mean, it's so tough to plan ahead. And then if you think like actual big boy endurance racing, having two of those or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding.
So yeah, it's
Well,
a
and
tough.
that I mean, and that was kind of my goal was that I was hoping I'd get it back from him in enough condition that I could at least document everything that was on the harness
Sure.
before it got swapped into the car, so then I could replicate that for a second one. Because my goal really is to have, I've got a second motor that's still at the machine shop,
Mhm.
getting getting honed, but get that engine reassembled. So we've got a second engine ready to go, like fully assembled. And my goal would be to have that harness on it too, so that
Mhm.
then, we've got a Deutsch connector basically in the middle of it, and we can, you know, pull the fluid fittings on it and pull the electrical harness and wheel that one out and wheel the other one in and be able to do a, God forbid we need to do a engine swap at the track, but we could do it.
Yeah.
Um, and not
And
quite not quite the style of Audi where they just were at Le Mans where they just like unbolted four things and two
mhm.
electrical connections and one fluid connection, and like swap the back half of an R8 off for another one. But
No, I always make the argument that, dry brake hydraulic connections are a safety concern,
sure,
and that, those should be open. But
nobody's.
anyway,
I mean, for lemons, nobody's going to give a crap about that. Oh, so I'm going to segue from that into about nobody giving a crap, into the Road Atlanta experience. And
mm,
um,
how was Road Atlanta?
oh, awesome. I mean, it's, man, if it's not my favorite track in America, it's either that or Road America. I'm not sure which one it is, but it's probably one of those two.
Can
Uh,
we can we start with the road trip? How was the road trip? Couple
it's
days?
great. Yeah, yeah. So Strawn uh, drove down here from OKC, got here in pretty close to record time, despite the fact that I think the interstate went down to one lane at some point near
Mhm.
Gainesville. And we got out and we went to stopped in Meridian, Mississippi this time, a little bit
Okay.
closer uh, to Road Atlanta because we made good time getting out of here. And the road was pretty clear, other than what was entertaining, and entertaining only because we didn't get busted anywhere, was that there were a lot of law enforcement out on the interstate looking to. I mean, I know no law enforcement agencies in America have quote unquote quotas,
No.
the number of tickets that they need to be able to write, because those are largely illegal. But they maybe have suggested amounts of tickets that they're
Mm.
maybe supposed to write in a year. And it was very apparent that several sheriff's departments, that the deputies were eager to get their December to finish off their year before Christmas.
Hmm.
Um, and
A December to remember event.
that's right. That's exactly right. And it was not Toyota Jan handing out Siennas.
Yeah.
Um, and they're on the way there. Not very many on the way back on Monday, but on the way out on Wednesday and Thursday, there was a lot of law enforcement sitting on the medians of Interstate 20,
Mm.
looking to pop people. But one of the things I really appreciate about my newer car that is my daily driver that we took out there is it's the first car that I've owned. I know this isn't exactly new technology, but it's the first one I've owned that has, like digital cruise control. So you just, click the button, it'll go from, 80
Oh
to
yeah, that's fun.
65 to 70, right? And
Mhm.
so that was great because like when Waze would pop up, like police ahead, zero point 0.4 miles, it's like, click, click, and almost immediate without even touching the brake, you're almost immediately to, you know, dead on 70 miles an hour or whatever.
You have the radar follow stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fun.
We were running the Valentine one and the Waze simultaneously.
But can it
Um,
detect cars in front of you, like at the highway, so it slow down, like if traffic's slowing?
oh, on the cruise control?
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll do that too.
yeah.
I don't tend to run that a lot though, because
Mm.
especially if somebody else is in the car and we're, talking away or whatever, like, suddenly we'll go from, doing the speed limit of 75 miles an hour down to 65 behind
Mhm.
Cressida that's barely limping down the road, and I won't even notice it. And then I'm like, what the heck's going on? Why is it like, why are we moving so slow? It's like, oh, because, there's a half
Are we
turn.
allowed to talk about this car at all, or is this still just a?
No, we can
It's
talk
a,
about the car.
it's a
I mean, that's
sedan.
the whole reason I took it out there.
It's a
So
sedan.
the car, it is a sedan. It's a Cadillac uh, CP4V Blackwing,
Nice.
and it's a pseudo Road Atlanta track edition, because it's a 22 and not a 23, and there's a long story behind that that I won't bore the entire audience with. But it's got all of the accoutrement of the track edition. I thought, it'd be fun to have the Road Atlanta car at Road Atlanta.
Oh, neat. Okay, I see the
Yeah,
buy-in. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Was
So
it a good touring? Like, was it good car to take to Atlanta?
yeah, it's great. It's the best car I've ever owned.
Okay. Nice.
Like it's great as an over the road car. It's great as a stoplight to stoplight car. It turns like a maniac. It's got that magnetorheological shocks on it, so you can have
Hmm.
it in like touring mode, and it's not like floaty, but it's
Right.
comfortable. And then you can turn it into sport mode, and it's a little tighter, and then you turn it into track mode. It's like you feel every pebble on the road. Um, it's a
Awesome.
great car. I can't I I've said this 1,000 times. I've probably said it 1,000 times to you. I can't believe Cadillac got General Motors to let them make the car.
Yeah.
Like it's
V6 twin turbo. Is that what we're talking? Or
yeah 3.6 twin turbo. 10 mine's a 10-speed automatic because
nice.
I knew I was going to daily drive it, and I don't want to do that to my left thigh the way I
Hmm.
have on any number of manual cars before. And between the what they do with the transmission magic and the way they have those turbos tuned, like it's always in the power band.
Sure.
It doesn't have any turbo lag. It doesn't. It's
Is that
it's
a
a great
dual
car.
clutch or is it just a lot of gears?
I don't know that it's a dual clutch. I don't know that it's
Right.
not, but it's a 10 speed. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I
That's
don't know
wild.
how they fit all that in there. So maybe it is a dual clutch. I don't know, but
I've heard a lot of good things about that. Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, it's a great car. I've been. I feel like in life, a lot of times you don't get more value than you expect when you buy something.
Well, yeah, you're in it every day. This is why I bought my giant subwoofers. I'm going to be doing this constantly.
Yeah,
Might as well have a
and
good time.
and this car has been better than expected, and
Hmm.
that almost never happens in anything, let alone you know a newish car. I got it with 2,300 miles on it, so it was a new used car.
Neat.
So yeah,
Well, very
so it's
cool.
great. So we
Well,
drove
thank.
out, stopped in
Yeah.
Meridian, ate at a spectacular Outback Steakhouse.
Mm.
Uh, Tip for the those who like a Manhattan cocktail. The the uh, the Outback Steakhouse in Meridian, Mississippi. At least on the Wednesday night that we were there.
Hmm.
Uh, well, so I ordered a rye Manhattan,
Mm.
and I said I just wanted it in a rocks glass, like with one ice cube.
Okay.
And
That's a little confusing.
but I mean, it's a rye Manhattan, right? I mean, it's a slight variation on a theme, and then it's just a serving suggestion because I don't want it like up in a coupe glass like that. That always seems too frilly to me, and I don't drink it fast enough, and it gets warm, and so. I guess I'm a little high maintenance when it comes to that. So I give my order to the waitress, and I have to repeat it. And I knew, okay, we're in for it now. And so she goes, and then she comes back, and she says, "We don't have any rye."
Huh.
I said, "Okay, well that's fine. I'll just take a bourbon Manhattan then." And then she goes back, and about 5 minutes later, I'm not kidding. I think we were done with the bloomin' onion at that point.
Sure.
She comes back and she says, "Also, we don't have any sweet vermouth." And I said, "Okay, I'll just have a bourbon." And I said, "Wait a minute. What if I say a bourbon? What bourbon am I getting?" And
Uh-huh.
and of course she said, "I don't know." And she went back and she like came back and she said, something I'd never heard of before. And I said, uh, and she said, and like I think she saw the look on my face, like what is going on here? She said, or we've got turkey. I said, "I'll take wild turkey on the rocks." Done.
Right. Just boom.
Right. Like let's dial this all the way back.
That
But
by this point, I'm thirsty.
right. Yeah. Um, but overall, great company. Had a great dinner. We went to the Books a Million, and
Hmm.
Eric got a book to read, and I bought some Christmas presents. And Books a Million in Meridian, Mississippi, does not give you a bag with your books,
Mm.
which means the books may be sliding around the trunk the entire weekend.
Classy.
FYI, you could buy a tote bag, but I'm like, seriously, I
Is
just,
it like a no plastic bag state?
I, it's Mississippi. I thought it was a mandatory plastic bag state. Like we're gonna make up for those California felons, right?
Sure.
No.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So anyway, the drive. Then we met up with Troy in Birmingham at the Bucky's in Leeds at about 9:30 the next morning, and caravan the rest of the way to the track. And I'll tell you what, I think this trip converted me to believing in the value of the enclosed trailer.
Is that what they run? I was going to say, what is their tow rig sitch?
Yeah, he's got some probably Ford F-250, and is what he's hauling, a crew cab,
Hmm.
long bed. It's like the longest diesel truck you can have.
Yep.
And then I think it was Frank's trailer. And it was a 24-foot enclosed, standard kind of Hallmark or whatever. Like it wasn't anything fancy. It wasn't all decked out or anything like that. But I was like, this is, especially as we were like loading up to get out. I'm like,
Yep.
because so the weather was great that weekend. It was sunny and nice on Friday and Saturday, but then it was crappy and rainy on Sunday. And that's the worst when you're pulling down the wedding tent, right? Like you're out there, it's cold, it's rainy, you're trying to pull all this stuff down, which means it's getting colder and rainier as you're doing it. Um,
Yeah. No bueno.
yeah, and it takes like 2 hours just to get that thing down. And we were like all packed up in well less than 2 hours. So
Nice.
the only downside would have been if we'd had to do any work on the car. I think maybe Troy had like a 10x10 pop up you could throw up next to it. So I
Hmm.
think like for me the answer would be like the 24-foot trailer seems like about the right length for a single car thing, and but maybe to have some provision on the side, one of those
Like an
roll-out
awning.
awnings or something. Yeah, a
Yeah. An
roll-out
awning.
awning.
The awning with the walls is amazing.
Exactly. That's it.
But
That would do it.
big shout out to Todd because I think Todd solved this problem for us. I don't know if you've seen Todd's trailer,
I
but
have not.
it's oh my god, it's amazing. It's like a
Yeah.
28 footer, and he put a
Okay.
mini split in it. Like
Nice.
and it's got a shower. It's a nice place to
What?
be. Yeah. So maybe we sponsor the awning for him, and then we all win. So
I
big
think
shout out Todd.
that's a big idea.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. The awning,
Anyway,
yeah, I think the awning it would be the additional game changer. But yeah, the enclosed trailer, I'm definitely a fan of. I don't have
yeah.
anywhere to put it. I don't especially want to buy one. Um, I
Just be
wouldn't
nice
get
to Todd.
gifts.
Shout out to Todd.
Well, that's easy. It's easy to be nice to Todd.
Yeah.
I mean, apart from the fact that he's got a trailer,
Yeah.
I've known Todd for basically my entire adult life.
He's
Um,
ostensibly a good guy.
that's awful. He is actually a good guy.
Oh.
There's no qualifier needed.
Anyway, carry on. We're in Atlanta.
Yeah,
We're
so we get
following
to
around a
Atlanta.
trailer.
Yeah, we uh
At some point, you
oh
guys race a car, right?
yeah, at some point we raced a car. So on Friday we tested. Test went fine. Got through TAC, A0, all that business.
Nice.
Um, Troy. I mean, Troy's car. It's actually Brett's car. Let me be clear. Like this isn't
Okay.
Troy's car. Is his Z. Brett is the owner of. This is the green and with like black and yellow spray paint stripes E30 with a
E30, the winner chicken dinner. I mean, this thing has been crushing
yes,
the South region with
yeah.
lots
It's
of
got
wins.
got a couple of wins, and it's got I think the 2.5 like what is that, the early 325 motor in it from
Hmm.
the E36. Um, so I mean, truthfully, it's it's probably on the short end of the stick in A at this point.
Hmm.
Um, it that motor pretty much falls on its face at 6,000 RPM. And it's
Hmm.
kind of getting there. I didn't feel like it was dying out before that, but drivers better than me, like Anton, is like, between 5,500 and 6, you need to like let off the throttle a little bit, and it actually works better. But I'm just I'm a mash foot caveman, so I just
Hmm.
get to 6,000 and shift. And but yeah, practice was great, and you know the all the I didn't manage to get in the sim at all before this race, and but all the sim laps we've done there, in addition to the real life laps, like it comes back so much faster now.
Yeah,
And you can really, and Eric, I guess Eric and Troy and I on Thursday night, we watched the Ross Bentley track walk video again. And so
nice.
that was a good reminder, like, hey, late Apex this. And
Shout out Ross Bentley. Thanks for listening.
yeah, thank you, Ross Bentley, for all that you do. Uh, Not the least of which is promoting the Racers HQ Lifestyle podcast on your various platforms. And but when the AI picks this up, he might at least get a ding in his
That's
AOL
right. Yeah.
inbox. Um,
He's got to put the CD in first.
that's right. Um, we're gonna get like a hot email from Ross Bentley. Like he seems like this. I'm sure he is a wonderful man. Nice, friendly, genteel Canadian. We're gonna get like this hot email full of Canadian swears and A's. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, sorry, Canadian listeners. That's a terrible, terrible slight that I'm dealing you. We had a good test day. Anton went out and did a test and tested. And I said, I had asked him to go out. I'm like, can you just give me 5 or 6, like what you consider hot endurance laps? Because it wasn't very busy. He could have gone out and done a sprint lap, and that we wouldn't be able to replicate. Because I wanted to see on the Garmin where it was telling him he had possibilities, like watch his laps and see what his line
Yeah.
was. Because I was like, because Anton, is a great driver and
Hmm.
has driven that track a lot and has driven that car a lot. And I, I mean, I know where my weaknesses are at that track, and it's number one is at 7, and number 2 is at 10, and number 3 is at 1, and and so it was good to see how he did that, and it made a difference in how I approached, and at 5 also,
Well, good.
um, all of those, right, and realizing that there's more. My fear is always I don't want to, and this is prophecy a little bit, but I don't want to. I don't want to spin. I don't want to get black flags. Right. I know I'm
Yeah.
not going to go 4 off. Um, I know I'm not likely to get contact. I'm unlikely to get a pass under yellow, though sometimes those just catch you out. But I don't want to spin,
Hmm.
and so I'm usually a little bit extra cautious about pushing the grip envelope too far because I don't want to get a spin and get a black flag. Right.
Sure.
But I felt it better in this car than I had in this car when I've driven it previously, and so it was good. Saturday came and went out. Um, I went out first in the car on Saturday morning. We were doing like 2 hour and 30, 2 hour and 40 stints.
Really?
That car,
That's
yeah,
that's impressive.
he's got a 22 gallon cell in there. But like I said, it only revs to 6.
Yeah.
So, um, and I think it probably took 18 gallons when I came in. I started full, probably had
Wow.
4 left. Um, Now, first stint, there's always some extended double yellows. Um, that's typical, but there was a lot of green flag racing. Um, and I don't remember what my lap time was, my best lap time, but it was good. It was a good,
Yeah.
2.5 hours, 2 hours, 40
How many
minutes,
cars?
128.
Damn.
Yeah, it was a lot of traffic and a lot of fast traffic. I mean,
Hmm.
um, but that car's a good example. Like it's gone from being a fast car with that engine to being a little bit more of a fast momentum car. Um, but it's got enough grip and it's really evenly balanced. Um, and so I got out of the car. I was in fourth overall.
Nice.
So that was nice. That felt good,
Yeah.
especially because I haven't driven a lot, in the last
But you're getting faster. I feel like,
2 years.
yeah, the whole team's kind of figuring it out, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You do something for 15 years and eventually you figure it out or you quit.
It kind of comes in weird plateaus, I feel like. But once you unlock it, it's like, it works.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Then Eric got in and drove for a while and a lot of weird spin in five, I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Is five the uphill left-hander with all the runoff? Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that corner. That's wild.
Yeah. But they had told us in the driver's meeting that if you went four off on the right onto that big curb, that they were going to count that as an off. So I don't know
I
if that
see.
caught him out or I think what happened, I suspect what happened, and Eric will correct me if I'm wrong. But I suspect he got into five a little too hot and then, you know, and that's off camber, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and like got in there a little bit hot, probably lifted, and then it just spun.
Yeah. Light
Um,
car.
yeah, and so, but that shook him up. So he came in, did his black flag, came into the paddock, and he felt like the car maybe wasn't running right, like it had dropped a cylinder.
Hmm.
So I was still in my gear other than my helmet. So I threw my helmet on, got back in because I'm like, well, I just
Okay.
drove the car, right? Like, let's go out and test it. And it was a little bit louder. I don't know if like there's a hole in the exhaust or something got knocked loose on the exhaust or whatever, but it was running fine. And that 5 or 6 laps, however many I went out and did, was enough for Eric to clear his head, get back in the car, and go
Okay.
out and do a really good rest of his stint. And
Weird. Okay.
yeah,
So so much for 2.5 hour stints if you had to do extra pit stops. But oh well.
yeah, but he got to. I mean, at this race, like it's just a matter of get back out there, right? So we
Mhm.
got him back out there, and he went out, did a great rest of his stint, and then came in and like at I guess probably 2:30, Anton got in the car and went, and so we had fallen from with all of that, we had fallen from fourth to 16th.
Yeah.
Anton got us from 16th back up to ninth for
Oh dang. Okay.
Sunday. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if Anton listens or not, but I mean that dude can wheel. I mean straight
Yeah.
wheel, and that's not like a big secret to anybody, right? Um, and
What kind? I mean, if you don't mind me asking, like, what kind of gap does he have to you? Like, I mean, is it 5? Is it 10? Is it 2 seconds?
maybe less than five.
Okay.
I don't
But still,
remember.
over some time, that's very helpful.
Yeah, I think my fastest on Saturday was in the 155s,
Mm.
and I think that's right. And I think his fastest race lap was maybe in the 151s.
Okay.
So it's substantial.
Yeah, it is. It's helpful.
Yeah. And but yeah, so it was good. And
Okay.
so then started on Sunday. I started in ninth, and so I don't know if I mentioned this before. Friday and Saturday was the best weather we've ever seen at that race in Atlanta. It was like sunny Friday. It was sunny and partly cloudy on Saturday, but
Because
no rain.
we've done this in a sub freezing
Right.
snowstorm before.
And every other year it's been at least in the no better than 40s and rain.
Yeah.
Right. So first 2 days were glorious by comparison. Like we're like, man, I should have put on some sunscreen today. Like I can
Yeah.
feel it. And but Sunday started out with typical weather. It was low 40s and rain. So I went out and did pretty well for the first, I don't know, dozen laps maybe, and was feeling good, um, and feeling in my where the grip was on the track and displacing my apexes or driving around, like the outside of seven, like all the places that
Sure.
aren't gonna. aren't going to be totally slick because they're the line and the dry, right? And getting the wheels straight before getting on the gas and all the
That's
stuff, right?
that's really good practice. Yeah, I mean, it's just a good experience. It's gonna make you
Yeah,
smarter.
right. And try and get all my braking done in a straight line, all of that stuff. And then I was going into and passed a few of the cars in front of me, which was pretty cool. So I was making up ground. The number 2 car it was the oh, what car is that? It's a blue Nissan Altima or Maxima, probably a Maxima. It had dropped way back, and so from second, I think,
Mm,
and I caught up to him, and he dropped
nice.
back too. And and so the two of us were going we came down the back straight or came down the hill, up the front. We're going into turn 1, and we catch up to some slower traffic, and I wind up having to go 3 wide through there, and I had to get on the inside,
Hmm.
um, and everything was fine, and like there was no, I didn't, it wasn't like a change in steering. I didn't brake. I didn't shift. I didn't do anything. And the car just came around, and
Oh no.
yeah, came around on the inside, like right on. I ended up on the pro pit out.
Oh damn.
Um, just on the inside. It was a really, I mean, it was a gentle spin. I didn't contact anybody. Nobody hit me.
Hmm.
Um, but I wasn't able to keep it alive while it was spinning. And, so I went to restart the car, and the key to the car broke off in my hand.
Ah,
And, of course, we haven't had a key start car.
I was about to say, like, why is this a problem? But anyway.
I don't, because Brett's had the key on that car all along, and it's never been a problem before, right? But
Hmm.
like how a BMW key start is, you have to like turn it off first before you turn it back on to start it. Like it has to go all the way counterclockwise before it goes clockwise.
Hmm.
And that car we'd had, I wouldn't say a problem. It just has an issue with hot starts. Like it won't usually hot start on the first go. So I turn it back, I turn it, it like bleh, and so then I go to do it again. And when I do it the second time is when the key just breaks off my hand. I just look down at my hand and I'm like, well, that's lemons right there. And
You got to quit working out so much, Pat. Like,
yeah, yeah, that's it. Well, that's what and Troy
what's
kind of
the
said that.
sheer strength of a key?
I don't know, but I imagine how many times that key has been turned in anger.
Fair.
After a spin or an off or this car isn't working right or whatever. Like that key lived a life for a key.
What are the physics of why that even happened? Is it because the rear wheels lock up the motor?
What do you mean?
Why does
Why
the
did
car die when you spin it?
I? Yeah, it probably was just still running when it came to a stop. Is
Hmm.
probably the truth. I probably didn't get the clutch in fast
Yeah,
enough.
I got you. Yeah.
When it was spinning, when it started spinning in, with it being wet out, that car didn't have enough power to spin dry. But I tried to like dump the gas into it once it started. When I
Mm,
realized I couldn't catch it and keep it from coming around, I tried to give it enough gas so it would go all the way around.
hmm.
But I ran out of talent, or it ran
Yeah.
out of power, or
Fair.
both. And clearly it was me with the talent because then the car dies, and
Mhm.
I don't blame the key on me, but the fact that I had to restart it. So then they had to bring us back in and all that. And that took. I'm not faulting Road Atlanta for that because it was a bad spot. I mean, right
Sure.
at turn
Yeah.
1, it's always crowded, right? And they weren't gonna obviously like black flag the entire field for this, so it took them probably 10 or 15 minutes to get to me, and then a while to get back. And at that point, our position was pretty well shot. But
Yeah.
and also the first morning session at Road Atlanta is only from 8:30 to 10, and then you've got a 2-hour break. So
Hmm.
we were pretty much ready to go back out on track. Like we'd figured out how to make the start solution work again.
Hmm.
Pulled the key cylinder. When the key cylinder is out of its housing, it'll turn with the screwdriver in it.
Mm,
So we fashioned it up with the screwdriver, with the ignition cylinder on the dash, and a screwdriver that we had wired so it couldn't become a missile in event of a crash. Um, so you could start and stop the
Hmm.
engine without just kill switching it. And about the time we got that done, it was 10 o'clock. So we missed.
Nice.
We probably missed an hour on track at that point. Which
Yeah, it's not too bad.
is what
So you wrap up the day. It's getting worse, I'm sure, with the weather. Or
Yeah, and it kind of went in and out. It got at one point it got so bad that Eric brought the car back in because he couldn't see
oh yeah.
the windshield was starting to fog up on him, and
Mhm.
he couldn't get that cleared. And he was like, "Look, I can't see the car like 30 feet in front of me with the rain coming down and the rain off the tires. I'm just going to bring it in." I'm like, "Yeah, like 100%. If you can't, if you
So
don't feel like
did
he's
Troy
safe to
drive?
drive." No, Troy didn't
Detroit.
drive at all. Mm-mm.
Oh, wow, okay. So it's just
No,
you and Anton and Eric.
he was crew chief. Well, and Neil. So
Oh,
Neil
Neil. Okay.
drove. Neil drove the last stint on Sunday, and Neil did a
Shout
great
out Neil
job.
Losi. Yeah.
That's right. Um,
Nice.
Neil and Anton both also drove the S10 that won IOE, and Wade was the guy who's been building that car for 10 years.
Oh wow.
Um, and needed extra drivers, and so Nick Pon at Lemons reached out to those guys to see if they would drive with him. And then his car probably got totaled with about 30 minutes left in the race.
Oh no.
It's probably a mechanical, and he just spun hard into the inside wall on the front straight, like going straight. It wasn't like coming out 12 and he
Hmm.
used it or anything, but it's all banged up, so that may not happen. But he at least got IOE out of it. But I think that's Neil's 28th or 29th IOE.
Yeah. Shout out to KCBX in
That's right.
California. If you need to make a donation to an NPR station this year, it's tax deductible, and Neil's got a great show on KCBX out of San Bernardino.
Bernardisto,
Anyway, is that right? I don't know.
Bernardino, maybe
Sure.
Modesto,
No one knows. There's no way to
and
know.
San Luis Obispo. I don't know.
I think that. Oh, I think you might have nailed it there.
Okay, San Luis Obispo. That might be it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I while we were there, I told Neil, a friend of mine texted me a link to a YouTube video that he'd found that apparently was just on PBS,
Mhm.
and it's the Minneapolis Philharmonic Orchestra
Sure. Mhm.
doing a collab with. Oh, it wasn't the Dead Kennedys. The Violent Femmes.
Oh,
The
oh,
Violent
this.
Femmes 40th anniversary. And I
Oh,
and
wow.
I and I said to Neil, the pledge drive has come for Generation X,
Hmm.
if this is what they're now showing.
You're getting a tote bag for sure.
That's it, 100%.
Well,
But yeah, but
so-
well. Then we drove home Saturday and Sunday, or
mhm.
Sunday and Monday, and it went well. And Eric found. I guess he is a frequent viewer of the Pluto TV app,
Mm.
and there's a Mystery Science Theater 3000 channel
Ooh. Uh-huh.
on Pluto, and so
Uh-huh.
we watched. I'm a long time. My senior year in college was when that was
MST3K.
on. Yeah, and I didn't have it on my cable channel at home, but my roommate Kevin did, and his mom would tape it on videotapes and mail us the tapes so we
Nice.
could watch MST3K. And so Eric and I watched quite a number of MST3K episode movies, including some that were so early I'd never even seen them before. So it was a fun time. It was a good trip. It
That's
was too
fun.
bad we couldn't have more of our home slice crew out there, but it was a fun trip. Good
That's what
times.
it's all about, Maury. No, I'm glad, and I do know that I was talking to Eric about that, and he was excited that it wasn't going to be the Iron Man that you did a couple years ago. When I think it was
Ah,
just he was the only crew member, and it was you
yeah,
and Dave Iron Manning Road Atlanta.
yeah,
He said that was too much work, so he's excited to have some help.
yeah. No, it worked out great.
Yeah,
Neil and Anton are awesome, and Eric did great. I mean, you know,
that's awesome.
we had a great race, and
Nice.
Troy and Brett did a great job getting the car ready, other than not having a new key in the ignition, I guess. Um,
Sure.
who would have known? It's
Who did? Yeah.
that's kind of lemons in a nutshell, right there.
There you go. I love it. Well, thanks, Pat. Thanks for that recap. I'd like to do. If are you done? Are we done with Atlanta? You got any other hot takes on Atlanta?
It's a really really fun track. It's I mean, like we talk about all the time. It's the tracks with elevation that it's the
Yeah.
elevation that makes tracks great, and that's it at Road Atlanta. Man, I mean, I don't know how many laps I've done, and still, at least in real life, every time that you come over 11 and you're
Mhm.
coming down that hill, it's just a little bit of a gut check. Like,
Yeah.
look, you've just got to drive to that point and then turn, and just know that that's how it is.
Yeah. I will say this, and maybe we can touch on this quickly, but we were watching some of the live stream, and big shout out to even having that capability. So I know that Troy or whoever's figured out a way to to live stream to YouTube from the track, and so we were watching that at the office. And I guess you guys were practicing, because it would
Yeah,
have been like Friday.
yeah,
And we have way too many TVs in our office. Like our office to human ratio is, I think, is 3 to 1. I mean, our TV to human
yeah.
ratio. Sorry, but I think office too, right? Yeah, we've got no, anyway. But yeah, TV to human ratio way too high. But yeah, no, we had you up on the big screen and we were watching it, and anyway. But the same commentary. Like every time you'd go over 11, I'd be like, oh, watch this, and you know, trying to explain to amateur race car enthusiasts how important this track was.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it was good. It's cool to have that.
Every time you're just clenched a little bit in the
Hmm.
important places.
So quickly, do you know what the onboard PC to go to my PC to YouTube, linked over a 5G Verizon card setup he has there? Or
Yeah, it's essentially the same one that we're running. So
oh, okay.
he's got I think it's an AT&T hotspot in
Hmm.
there that the GoPro is slave to over Wi-Fi, I
Okay.
think. And but you have to. It's the same rigmarole that we've gone through. You have to connect the tablet to the hotspot first to get
Hmm.
the hot or not the hotspot to the GoPro first
Hmm.
to get it working to tell the GoPro to talk to the hotspot, and
Hmm.
then the solution that we've come to that seems to work is we've made it so that then the tablet stays in the car.
Yeah.
Um, it shouldn't need to be there. It shouldn't need to stay in the middle of that
Handshake.
communication. Yeah,
Sure.
like once that handshake's made, it shouldn't have to be there. But then sometimes the GoPro and the just stops talking to the Wi-Fi for some reason,
Hmm.
and nobody really. I don't think any of us have adequately solved the why on that,
Hmm.
other than just say GoPro and throw your hands up in the air.
Yeah. Or there's some sort of like E36 with a Wi-Fi pineapple, like maliciously dropping your connections for
Could
you.
be, it could
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That's fun.
what we really need is our own high endurance drone that can just be always 100
Hmm.
feet above the car everywhere on the track, so it's just beaming it directly to that, and then
Those, it's not an endurance application, but those Drifty boys have got some drone stuff figured out.
yeah,
I think it involves 9-year-olds in the passenger seat, but you know,
yeah. But
when you,
that's a quite a different situation when you're in the car for 2 or 3 laps
yeah,
versus
no, it's
like
totally different. Yeah,
I'm still trying to get my bearings on track by the end of the third lap.
yeah,
Um,
that's awesome. I'd like to shift. I do agree. That is an amazing track. I'm so glad you guys got to do that, and I appreciate the report out. We're at about an hour, and I wanted to do, since I don't think we're going to get another podcast in this year. I wanted to do a quick tarp recap. Shout out to the tarp drivers. Shout out to what we've been up to. So it's gonna be kind of rapid fire,
pow pow pow.
but pow pow pow. But I want to make sure. And then I'd like to. I've got a driver of the year award. Somebody's getting a t.
Oh,
Somebody's getting a T-shirt tonight.
the
Uh,
coveted Racers HQ Driver of the
I
Year
mean,
award,
this is worth at least $32 worth of T-shirt, people.
a
So
T-shirt, and an astonishingly small stipend.
yeah, that's right. Close to zero. It's like a tangential stipend.
Asymptotic to zero.
That's right. I like
Write
this.
that. Write that on the on the on the check.
That's what you get.
It's not zero, but it's asymptotic to zero.
Let some recent college dropout making $10 an hour figure that one out.
That's right.
Anyway, um, so a few hot takes. I've got these written down, but I would also like your kind of hot takes throughout the year. A few things that I'd like to highlight. Todd is getting pretty fast. So
Yep.
Todd had some engine problems, but he got back out this year. I know he listens to the pod, so and he's a great helper, great new trailer there, Todd. But man, that guy's getting quit pretty quick, and or maybe I'm getting slow, but I think the guy was on pace with me at Houston, and he's been doing NASA racing.
Yep.
He's been battling it. When he first started doing it, he was solidly last or second to last, and now he's like up in the pack. I think he's mid pack, and
I think
he's
he's mid
getting
pack with a smaller engine.
yeah,
Yep.
and that's a tough series.
Yeah.
That Camaro Mustang Challenge. There's a lot of good drivers in there. I've met a lot of those drivers. They're all very good drivers. So I just big shout out to Todd. Like it's working. Like going and racing competitively in like a cutthroat series. I think really speeds you up. So thanks Todd for bringing that speed to the team.
100%, and not just because Matt Murphy covets the use of your trailer.
Oh, I don't care. I don't care. I love you, Todd, but we can get a car to the track. As much as
right.
we'd love to have your trailer to get it to the track, this is not a requirement. So that's one hot take. Another hot take I have is that Roland was a big contender for Racer of the Year in my mind, and maybe I'm just
Always.
the guy that makes this up. But Roland got out there at Comma. He got his wheel to wheel situation going, his sprint racing with his Nissan.
Yep.
And I know he doesn't listen to the podcast, I don't think, but
Wait, we could be talking smack about Roland behind his back this entire time, and I didn't know it.
I know, right? Um, but that guy has won every Comma race he has entered. So I think he was in, let's call it 4, 5, 6 races this year, and he won everything. So GT3 class,
Wow.
350Z up at Hallett, and good for you. I mean, he beat me. Not that that's saying much, but I gave him every challenge I could, and then he went right back out there without any competition from myself and beat everybody else. I'm pretty sure. I could be lying, but I'm pretty sure he won everything. So big shout out to Roland. So that's 100% win rate in Comma.
That's
That's my
impressive.
understanding.
Very, very impressive, especially because I know Roland hates the tires that he was racing on. So
Yeah, we have decided that those mid-grade slicks, the Maxxis, the what is it ones that he runs, Toyos.
yeah,
Not a fan, but anyway,
they're more mid than they are grade.
yeah, for sure. So that's my hot take for those two drivers. I know that Eric's done some driving this year and did a good job. I did a little bit of driving. Pat's been able to get out there. We won practice at Hallett. Did a
In
little bit
half
of
a day.
in half. Oh yeah. By the way, don't run if you're fast. Don't run transponders on Friday. Anyway,
Yeah, it's
but
just trouble.
I don't know. Hunter, I think he ran a few races. He did okay. He was solidly
Yeah.
mid pack. I think he kind of like Todd, right? He's like get a couple of years under your belt at NASA, which is something I'm finally dipping my toes back into, and I can't wait to be humbled. I'm not going to do well. Like
I'm sure you'll
like
do great.
it's brutal. Um, I don't know. Any other? Who else are we missing there? Nathan took an off year.
Yeah, Nathan's
Uh,
on sabbaticals. Still,
yeah,
still he's still doing field correspondent work.
field
God's
course
work
power,
that he's doing
God's
in the
work.
field.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, Dave didn't do much driving this year. Maybe he did the road rules challenge or whatever that's called, the Rambling Road.
oh no, he didn't. He was supporting that this year. He didn't drive
Yeah.
it this year. Todd
So
Wyant did not drive, I think, at all this
no
year.
driving for Todd. Yeah.
Uh,
Maybe. Yeah. Stevie Nicks. Did Steve drive?
Steve,
I don't think he got to it, Hallett. I think he missed his practice session.
yeah, he did, and then by the time he got up there, we had already developed that issue with the engine.
Man. So, if you don't mind, Mullery, I'd like to reveal my driver of the year.
Reveal
He's
it.
he's not part of the regular team, but all of that talk about our team and getting a few races in here and there, it brings me to my what I really think my true passion is for racing and what I think our goal is, and probably for the Racers HQ community, is consistently running races that you can run and be competitive at. Right? Like, wouldn't that be the goal? Don't
Yeah,
you think? Like,
I think that's a really fair target.
showing up at the racetrack and being competitive. And if you F around with that consistently, you might be able to win a championship.
Yeah.
And this guy's been a longtime supporter of the pod, good buddy, and and is always willing to chime in on his latest thoughts on EDM music and get hype songs. And he's a great coach. So our 2024 Racers HQ Racer of
Drum
the
roll,
Year
drum roll, drum roll.
is JT Toon. He won the Kama Spec Miata championship. So he showed up at Hallett for like whatever 6 or 8 weekends that they did it and drove his, mildly weak little white, NA Miata uh, to a Spec Miata championship. And I think that is right in the pocket of where we should be with our goals. So congratulations, JT Toon. You get a $32 t-shirt, and I can't wait to spend my $32 on that project. So I'll be hitting you up, but let's go give a cheers. Like, we can't figure out how to
Wow.
insert. We can't insert audio, so here we go. We're clapping now.
Real live authentic clapping.
I think yours
Congratulations.
might have been noise reducted, but that's fine.
Well, I
He
was
was,
clapping.
for the record, you were clapping, but anyway, I just want to get that off my chest. But congrats, JT. Thank you.
Congrats, JT. Enjoy
Yeah.
your Racers HQ t-shirt.
hmm
The applause of
Don't spend it
seniors
all in
about
one
now.
place.
That's right. And a check with a value asymptotic to zero.
Love it. All right.
The
Um,
the acclaim of the dozens, if not thousands, of listeners will know you
yeah.
everywhere.
This podcast is becoming more and more boutique boutique by the month, I believe. It's like we're not here to service thousands of listeners. No,
Oh,
no. It's that, dozen of high value listeners that we're here
that's
for.
right. That's right. I bet our listeners that make it all the way from 0 minutes to 100% of minutes
Mhm.
is, if you were to compare us with every other podcast on the market, I bet we are in the top 1%.
Artisanal.
Yes. Fresh from
hmm
Artesia.
hmm I love it.
Handcrafted from our
hmm
mouth to your ears.
You're welcome. Um, Mulry, do you have any shout outs to wrap up the year? Anything that you need to get off your chest? Any sponsors to thank?
I wish I had sponsors to thank other than my job, and
Mhm.
Rachel's job. Um, and but like like I say, practically, it seems like every podcast, I'm super grateful for you guys and for my wife and my family, and I look forward to. I'm bummed that it's going to be all the way until May that we get to race together again, and I'm really looking forward to that because it is just one of the highlights of my life is getting to hang with my buddies and race together and have a fun time.
Let's go hang at NASA sooner than that. So let's do it.
Done.
Um, well, yeah, thank you, Pat. And I don't have much to shout out to. Yeah, my lovely wife. She's great. I like my job. Good point, Pat. These are the things that really fund this.
Sure.
Didn't Jesus, thank you for the sponsorship on the Miata. But yeah, check out Racers HQ, like and subscribe, rate and review. Hit us up in the DMs with your favorite hype songs or
Yeah.
discussion points about progressive electronic music, whatever you want to get into. But we're
Mer-
here for you guys, and
Yeah.
let's all get our cars running and go hit up 2025 with vengeance.
Yeah. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year if we don't do a pod next week.
Happy New Year! Yeah, see you at the track. Good night, Dave.
Good
Good
night,
night,
Dave.
Eric. Yeah. Good night. Good night, JT, Todd,
Good night,
Dave.
Moon.
Good night, Moon. All right, bye, everybody.